Hello, this is Mark Wildman of Wildman Athletica, and today we are going to open a box from Kettlebells for Kids. Today's opening piece of equipment will be this Opinel Inox 7-inch chef's knife. This is one of my favorite chef's knives. I carry this around with me when I travel around the world. This and a flexible cutting board in your backpack means that you can always prepare your own food. Half of your metabolic health is being able to control your food input. Having a good kitchen knife is a good way to do that. We got this box from Kettlebells for Kids. This is a kettlebell from their line. Kettlebells for Kids is making smaller competition kettlebells. We have a couple of other kettlebells we're going to compare it to. Man, this is that super tape that you use to build hexayurts. My God. So the tape on this box is that structural tape. It has monofilament lines in it. Think of that like high test fishing line in every strip. So they actually use this tape to build hexayurts. Hexayurts are disaster relief structures that are designed out of flat pack materials, like think 1-inch foam board that you would get at Home Depot. And they're all cut in a geometric shape and they stack up so that you can get a 6-foot height insulated reflective emergency structure that all packs flat. I can't remember the math on how many boards you need to do it, but this is the tape that you use to hold the thing together, and a hexayurt will stay up for a year easily. This is our new smaller kettlebell size. USA YKBS 6 kilogram. So this is a smaller competition kettlebell, but you could actually use this as a full-size person because the geometry is correct. It is just barely missing the corner bone of my wrist right here. I'm 6'2", 240 pounds. So if you are smaller than me, this would work for you. These are made in, I think, 4 kilogram to 12 kilogram light competition weights. These are an excellent idea for getting younger people and smaller framed people, like small framed women, into the sport of kettlebell lifting at appropriate weights in a size that is appropriate for their body. We're gonna compare it to another couple of bells here so you can see. We have a 4 kilogram Pro kettlebell, and we have a Wildman full-size 35 millimeter handle competition adjustable kettlebell. And we have the new Wildman program flyer included with this adjustable kettlebell. The packaging gets sexier on every generation of these bells. Always put your knife away. One of the major problems we have with health in the modern world, nice. Here are your tools, is most people's metabolic health is not great. These are the tools that are included with an adjustable kettlebell. We have some bells of steel forearm guards. This can be something that's actually useful for new athletes. I don't recommend them for older athletes, but if you do something like competition lifting, this is something that's pretty cool. They have hard plates right there. Actually, I'm on the wrong side of my arm. They should be on the outside of your arm so that the kettlebell rests on something. If you're trying to get somebody into kettlebell lifting, that's not a bad idea. This kettlebell looks like it'll work great for younger people or smaller framed individuals. It is about the same size as this kettlebell from ProKettlebell.com. This is a 4, this one has weights. I don't have the weights to see if it'll stick to this one yet, but we will investigate that in the future. You can see that they are smaller in size than a full-size competition kettlebell. This kettlebell goes from 12 to 20.5, but extends up to 32K. This kettlebell works for about 50% of the adult population out of the box. Some people may need to go lighter than this. I know a lot of military guys who have been severely injured, a lot of guys with back injuries, And they do need to go down to these lighter weights to stay below the line of fear reactivity of spine injuries. But movement is medicine, whether it's for kids or for adults. Do not think that light weights do not have benefit. They do have benefit. You just learn to not put them down and add complexity. Light weights, high complexity, longer periods of time. Heavier weights, lower complexity, shorter periods of time. Metabolic syndrome is something that affects a majority of the population in the Western world now, especially in North America. In North America, you can think that 70% of adults, that's the number I'm hearing this year, are overweight. 35 to 40% are obese. People who are in those categories need smaller weights in order to start moving again. If they get a really heavy weight, sometimes their body can freak out because they don't have the core response firing to stabilize their spine. So this is something that everybody should have. But some people will need lighter kettlebells in order to get to the point where they can get to these more conventional weights. There is nothing wrong with that. Many kids in the modern world are now no longer what you would consider fit. Many kids are obese because there's simply not the amount of physical activity in childhood that there used to be. When I was young, I rode a bicycle 6 miles to school, both ways, of course, right? And then when I went to high school, it was about 12 miles each way. I didn't do that for very long. But I did work on a farm for the majority of my childhood. You spent the whole morning lifting weights of unknown sizes and unknown shapes. Bales of hay could be 50 to 90 pounds. There were always 90 pounds in my barn. No idea why they were that big and that heavy, but they definitely were. Bales of straw are big, awkward, but they're super light, but you're still looking at probably 40 pounds to pick up one in each hand and walk across the field with. You picked up bags of grain. They were 50 pounds. And you moved all these things every day, and you ended up moving a lot and walking a lot. You ended up walking out to the back fields. You ended up doing all kinds of stuff. There simply isn't that kind of load in childhood anymore, as far as I can tell. The majority of the population is no longer rural, and even the people who live in the country are no longer farmers like that. Machines have taken over for all that stuff that we used to do by hand. Something like kettlebell lifting can help kids develop proper metabolic function early in life. You can get a couple of kettlebells of different weights. You can set up to focus on the 6 basic things: swing, the deadlift, the clean, the snatch, the press, the squat, and the get up. You can combine those in different ways in order to make it fun and entertaining. And you could even use, say, gaming die in order to determine the numbers of each one of those things and set it for time. You can change kettlebelling every day, the length of time, the weight, and the way that you combine all the fundamental movements in order to get people very metabolically healthy in a short period of time. If you do that with young people, then it sets up how their body functions forever. We didn't talk a lot about that before because the equipment didn't exist. These are only out in the last year. This is just out, I think, in the last year. I just got my hands on this one. But these are the types of things that will help the rest of the population. I know a lot of military guys who've had extreme spinal injuries, and they've been on pain management for years, and their ability to do basic tasks is really messed up because they haven't had a way in order to stay below the fear response in their body, the freak out point for their back. So they can't go straight to something like this. But these weights could be used for young people, for older people who are deconditioned, and for people who've had severe injury. Every time you move a kettlebell, because of its offset center of mass, the opposite side of the spine, all those muscles try to fire. That does determine your quality of life. It determines your athleticism, it determines everything. The better you get at kettlebelling, the better every population can get. I can't think of a population that would not benefit from using these things. Kettlebells used to only be reserved for super hardcore athletes because that's the weights they came in. Now, the equipment exists for everybody, almost everybody, 99.9999999% of the population to benefit from the metabolic effect of doing kettlebell training.